Hello and welcome to my homestead. My sister had asked me to take a video of the melons, watermelons and squashes and all of that kind of stuff. So I thought that's what I'm going to focus on today. Just get to give you an update. This is my melon patch. Over here on the right of me is the watermelons. That's one, my main patch. I have another one on the back side of the property. And then I have these cantaloupes or sweet melons that are just beginning to form. But really I want to focus on the watermelons today. So a lot of them are hiding in the greenery, like these little ones. Oh, maybe not so little. But let me walk around. So here, some of them are on the edges, so they're easier to see. And there's still a lot forming. Like for example, this one just started blooming. And you can see the smaller ones. This tiny one, and the smaller one. Let's see if I can get inside where the bigger ones are. So this one is not so small. It's at least 6 to 7 pounds already, and it's still growing. And next to it, there is this little piggy. This one is really nice. Oh, it's at least 1.5 feet long now. So let me walk over to the other side. As you can see, what I've done was, when I moved here, I took the cardboard from the boxes when I moved, pulled it down to smother the weeds, and I put compost on top of them. So this was my makeshift garden bed. So here is another little baby, still growing. Right next to it is a different type. So I'm sure there will be some cross-pollination between these melons and these watermelons, but since they're all watermelons, I really don't care. They're still going to be tasty. And like I said, there are quite a few of them inside. Some are younger. These round ones, smaller ones. There are 10 different varieties of watermelons planted all over the property. So I'm looking forward to trying each kind. This is a different variety. Some orange glows, some Carolina giant, some Florida giant. Here's my sunchoke patch. And one of the biggies is over here. This one is really big. This one is at least 15 pounds or so. I tried to lift it and it's actually hard. So, but it's there, it's growing. I have no idea how I'm going to lift it once it's actually done, but it will be an interesting adventure. And I have a couple of sunflowers growing as well here. They're very late bloomers. But I mean, you get the idea. So a lot of the watermelons are hiding deep inside, and it's trying to find them, like these. And inside the big patch, there are quite a few more, but I can't get there without trampling the vines or damaging the plants, so I'm not going to do that. But I think you get an idea what's going on here. So right now, let me transition. It's in the middle of my orchard, which is what I'm trying to do, is smother these weeds on. Yes, I do have some sweet potatoes here growing as well. So you can see they're blooming. They spread quite nicely now. But let me transition over to the other patch. This is my squash patch, so let me show you what's going on there. So here we are at the squash patch. The squashes unfortunately got really beat up by the squash bugs. I've been trying to fight them. I literally go and lift, like I come here and I lift these vines to check underneath for the damage or for the nests, for the eggs where they lay down. And you can see some of the squashes are forming, but they're not growing very big. So if somebody knows how to make sure that they grow bigger, please let me know. See, like this one stopped growing already. It's very small. But they're hiding here. Overall, I have about 14 squashes here. This is butternut squash. So they're all in different stages of growth. Like this one is almost ready. I'm not picking it. I'm letting them stay and cure themselves, so they will survive through the winter, or at least they will last through the winter. This was one of the earlier ones. It's a odd shape, but again, I'm not picking them. So, a couple are a little bit bigger, like this nice one. It's a nice size squash. It's good enough food for a family meal. So I think my sister will be happy with what she gets for the winter. She loves making butternut squash soup or puree. They're very tasty and I love them too. I had one watermelon growing here, and it's really pathetic. It's probably the tiniest watermelon I have seen here. It stopped growing now. The actual plant is very sick, and I have no idea what's affecting, but it's the same problem that I have on the other watermelons in the main garden over there. So I'm gonna walk over there now and I'll show you what's happening there. So here we are at the other patch that I have for the melons. This was my original first patch before I planted the other one, but watermelons here are not doing as well, and I have no idea why. Some are way behind in development. You can see they've just sent out these little ones, but this one is not fully formed and it's already dying off, so I'm gonna take it off. You can see it's misshapen, it's soft, so it's rotting already. And this is one of the biggest problems. I have watermelons that are rotting. This is not the calcium deficiency. You can see something is affecting them. The vines are rotting themselves. And the watermelons are very stinted. The leaves are small in comparison to the other patch, much smaller. Even though they've had several doses of additional nutrition added, I gave them organic food. They're barely making it. But I have a couple of nice watermelons like these. They're not big. They're supposed to be much bigger, but they're not big for their type. It's sufficient to eat. This one is a little bit bigger. But again, you can see the development is stunted. The patch is very small. The plants are not as vigorous or as whining. And yes, there was a problem with this watermelon, that it started to rot at the end. So it's another one that needs to be taken out. I do have a couple of watermelons that were first formed. They were the very first batches. They're almost ready to be picked. This one is a nice size for one person to eat. You can see the tendril is almost dry. Actually, it is almost completely dry now. So in another week or so, I'll pick that one. Same thing here. This watermelon is also, the tendril is completely dry, so it should be ready to eat. It's a nice size watermelon. I'd say about 4 pounds or maybe 5 pounds. So, but again, you can see by the watermelon plant, it is not well developed. It's dying. So something they don't like here. Same thing here. Very small plant, not well developed leaves, not well developed vine, and very small watermelon as a result. That's already, it's not gonna grow bigger because the tendril is already beginning to die off. So if you know why the watermelons are having this problem, please let me know so I can at least correct it for next year. It's too late for this year. We're past the planting season for melons, but I hope I can fix it for next year. I also have a couple of pumpkins here. These have an even bigger problem. You can see they're dying, and it's some kind of rot or whatever. It's not squash bug. Some kind of virus or something, or fungus or something. But the pumpkins are tiny. Unfortunately, they will not get the chance to grow as much as they need to. This one is maybe a couple of pounds, maybe. I think this size. This plant is even worse off, in a worse shape. You can see it's almost completely dead. Again, I have no idea what's causing this. And the pumpkin already trying to turn color just to ripen, so it can survive and send seeds. But this pumpkin is supposed to be at least 3 to 4, yeah, about 3 feet across. It's a giant pumpkin. Obviously, that's not the case. So something has gone horribly wrong. I don't know what, but this is supposed to be a giant blue pumpkin, and it's not. It did not develop well. So that's the story here of these melons. I do have one large pumpkin. Let me walk over there and I'll show it to you. In the meantime, I have a few more watermelons here. They're all small size. Same story. Everything on this side is small as opposed to the other patch. And yet they're growing in the same compost. I use the same compost that I put out down here. But they're misshapen. They did not form well, and the vines are not well developed. This one is way behind. Still small. Maybe it will still develop something. So here I have, in this jungle, because I can't cut around it, this giant pumpkin, and I mean really giant. We're talking about 30 pounds here at least. This is a big pumpkin. It's beginning to turn color. I don't know if you can see, it's beginning to get a little bit of orange in there. So I'm hoping it will ripen in the next month or so. We'll see what it will be like. I have no idea what kind of pumpkin it is. I'll find out. But it's the same problem. You can see the leaves are dying. It's whatever is happening, something is killing all of my pumpkins here. I have no idea what. And this one was even worse disaster. It never formed anything. It had some blooms. You can see the male blooms. It didn't have a single female bloom. But still trying to grow. Still trying to grow wine. I'm hoping that it will send at least one pumpkin so I know what kind it was. But as you can see, it's definitely a problem. Now there is another type of gourd growing here on my trellis. These are loofahs, right next to my sunflowers. As you can see, the loofahs are very popular with bees. And I have this beautiful loofah hanging down. It's quite nice and large. But there is also a lot of younger ones that have just formed. So you can see multiple loofahs here. They're doing very well. They crossed around, but they are sick. I want to show you a problem. And I was told that this is leaf curl, similar to what tomatoes get on leaf curl, a virus that's incurable. You cannot do anything with it. But you can see what it does to leaves. It's awful. There is nothing that I can do about it. There is no spray, there is nothing, no treatment. I really hate to rip out the plant, so I'm just gonna let it grow and see what happens, if it will pull up. Because some leaves are curled, but later they're not as bad. You see, the younger ones are not, at least they don't seem to be as affected. So I'm hoping it will revive. It's not a lack of water. And my last batch here is a few more Crenshaw melons. I have a couple of, one plant here, one big plant there. I'm hoping they will actually have melons. I would really like to try one of these. They're supposed to be nice, very big melons. There are some female blooms, so a couple of female blooms there. I hope that they actually have pollinated. There's plenty of male flowers to pollinate and plenty of bees. That's one thing I try to create here, is create an attraction for the pollinators. But this is the tunnel that my sister really wanted, the gourd tunnel, when you walk underneath and the gourds are just hanging down. It's not kind of the same gourds that she wanted. Hopefully next year I'll put some butternut squash to hang here instead of loofah. But it will still be a nice development. And on that note, I'm gonna say goodbye, and until next time, thank you for joining me.